Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Nnamdi Kanu's enviable dilemma. Nnamdi Kanu's unenviable dilemma. The leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, HIPOB, and director of Radio Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has been languishing in detention since October 14, 2015, when the Directorate of State Services, DSS, arrested him. In spite of court orders for him to be released on bail, the federal government has stubbornly held onto him. He is being tried for treason, allegedly operating a pirate radio outfit that broadcasts subversive messages and leading a group which is openly committed to the dismemberment of Nigeria, which is what the independence of Biafra will amount to. What it simply means is that Kanu is a political detainee prisoner. In many cases, such prisoners can hope for a reprieve from either prolonged life or death sentence through political negotiations by his comrades, followers, or sympathizers based on their willingness to shift ground or the willingness of their opponent, the government, to shift ground. For instance, Kurdish separatist leader Abdullah Öcalan was sentenced to death for a treasonable offense similar to that of Kanu. But when he renounced violence and opted for a political solution to the independence of the Kurds from Turkey, he was eventually granted reprieve. On the other hand, anti-apartheid leader Dr. Nelson Mandela remained unbending about his desire for the overthrow of the apartheid regime and had to spend 27 long years in jail. It took major shifts in international attitudes to the apartheid regime and a willing reformer in the person of President F.W. de Klerk for conditions acceptable to Mandela to emerge for him to be released. He then joined the political process that eventually saw him becoming the president of South Africa on the platform of his party, the African National Congress, ANC. However, unlike Öcalan and Kanu, Mandela was not fighting for separation or majority rule. The Buhari regime refused to entertain any notion of freedom for Kanu until the Niger Delta Avengers, NDA's massive bombing of our oil infrastructure in the Niger Delta held the country's leadership by the balls. When the presidency shifted ground and became more amenable to a negotiated settlement to enable the country resume a full exploitation of the oil that she had depended on over 40 years. The movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta men re-entered the picture. Men, which had propelled the earlier version of the Niger Delta militancy that ended in the amnesty arrangement, saw an opportunity to wrest a deal that would accommodate the interest of the nation's recently emerged unified political bloc, the Southeast and South-South. Thus came the proposal for the release of political prisoners, including the Oka brothers, apprehended for men's act for terror some years back, and of course Kanu, if they would renounce the agitations for separatism. Though the federal government has not yet openly admitted that such talks were ongoing, Kanu directly made it clear he was not game for any such deal. It was Biafra or nothing. Even his wife, Lolo Uchechi Okwo Kanu, issued a statement saying, Anybody thinking that my husband will renounce Biafra is satisfiably insane. The truth is that Kanu has found himself in the situation that the late Basharu Moshood Abiola did when he was detained by General Sani Abacha after the Ekwetedo Declaration on June 11, 1994. He is now trapped in jail. Abacha and his supporters would have been overjoyed to let Abiola go only if he would renounce the struggle for his annulled presidential mandate. But Abiola's supporters, who were fighting, and some were dying for him, and the struggle would have none of that. Fancy what would have happened if Abiola had broken bounds, renounced his mandate, and come back to open society. He would instantly have become a persona non grata. The same National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, civil society groups, and the Yoruba nationalist activists who were ready to lay down their lives for him would have turned viciously against him. His life and property, and possibly those of his loved ones, could have been in danger, for the precise reason that many had been killed and people's property destroyed by the government forces for coming out to fight for him. Kanu's case is even more extreme in that the army has killed hundreds of unarmed pro-Biafra protesters. They have been given heroes burials since the Biafra protest started in the middle of 2015. Many are also being tried for treason. With the kind of vehement emotion that these young men and women carried this Biafra thing, Kanu's renunciation of the struggle would result in consequences better not imagined. He is far safer than better in jail, a hero and symbol of the struggle. He had better settle down for a long stay and hope that, like in South Africa, the political atmosphere can suddenly change to accommodate a settlement terms that could safely propel him and his loyalists out of prison. I don't know how this can happen, but there is nothing permanent in politics. Even the much touted indivisibility of Nigeria. No political arrangement lasts forever, much less the Nigerian type, which is guaranteed mainly by force, the power of oil, and the